Hey, what is up, guys? It's Tom Stakes here with an episode of Hits and Hoops, Branded Sports. Unfortunately, my co-host Nish unable to make it, but he is doing well. He's just out of town, so no worries on him. So I just want to get into some sports talk. I wanted to still come on and chat it up with you guys. So obviously, the Final Four, March Madness, champions have been decided. It's all finished with. So it's, time to look back and see how you did, how your bracket did. It's unfortunate for me. I had Duke winning the title and they didn't even make it. So I had them beating UNC, who got waxed by Auburn. And then Texas Tech and Virginia met in the finals. And I think it was just a year of destiny for Virginia. They had a lot of controversial calls. They were a team that struggled in games, especially early in the game against the 16 seed. In the first game, it kind of was like that, oh man, here we go again. But it was crazy because they prevailed. And yeah, there's the big thing is people said, a lot of controversial calls, but I don't think one or two calls missed either way is really what decides a game. Despite, missing calls and things like that. And it's, funny because the Saints get ragged on for their, complaining about calls and the one call. And that was like blatantly obvious. Like they actually have a point. So, but, like everyone says about that, the game goes on. You have to still make your plays and win. And, that there was chances for Texas Tech and, the other teams that Virginia had beaten to kind of work their way out of that and get back up and keep it going. And every team suffers from controversial calls and things like that at some point. So you either can overcome it or you can't. So it is what it is. And, that's just how it goes sometimes. So three best players, in my opinion, in the tournament were Jarrett Culver, who played for Texas Tech in the national championship and, was the best player on their team, obviously, throughout the tourney. Zion Williamson of Duke, obviously he seems to be the number one pick, and John Morant from Murray State, small town, small college kid, and he's got a motor and plays with energy and does a lot of things well. So those three guys I think are the top three picks. If I had to say one wasn't, it'd probably be Culver. Potentially might go fourth or fifth, depending on if someone rises or something like that. He's really good. RJ Barrett's another guy that's going to go pretty high in the draft, but I think Zion and Ja Morant are the two top picks, no matter what. I don't think they're going to lose the stock or lose the allure unless it depends on how what a team needs sometimes. Maybe even Culver could shoot up over Morant. You never know, or someone else. I think Zion's going to stay as that number one prospect just because of the body of work he put in college, and then just his literal body of work and his physicality and athleticism. So I think Ja is a really great prospect, but Zion, I think by a mile is the best one, and Culver as well. But I think Zion by a mile is going to be the guy that you look at like, wow, this guy has the highest potential and upside out of all three. Plus, he's very good right now, so we'll take him. And that's probably what one pick's gonna think. So, moving on to the NBA, as we're talking about being drafted, worst teams in the NBA. The best teams in the NBA start a little tourney of their own this weekend. Saturday will be the first day of the NBA playoffs, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very interesting year for the playoffs, and I personally can't wait. It's just going to be crazy. It's going to be probably pretty predictable, but we all love our hoops, and we're going to watch it anyway. So, first matchup was Warriors-Clippers. I got the Warriors 4 or 5 games. Clippers are a tough team. They're gritty. They're good. But unfortunately, the Golden State Warriors are, the best team in basketball, and they have been for quite some time now. So they're gonna take that series. I'm a big I'm a big Warriors fan, not a huge Warriors fan, but whoa, excuse me. That probably the first time I've sneezed in I think 8 episodes. I've never sneezed on camera, and there it was. Um, so like I was saying, the Warriors are the best team in basketball, and you know I'm not a big Warriors fan. Like I was saying, I'm not a Warriors fan so much, but I really like Steph Curry, and I've always liked Kevin Durant. So I like watching him play as well. And I know a lot of people don't like him, but I do. I like him and Curry. They're 2 of my favorite players that I've ever watched, and they're just fun to watch, regardless of the drama and all the things like that. So I pull for them. It's pretty easy to do. Not be a Warriors hater because it's going to drive you insane. It's kind of like hating on LeBron when he was running the East. It's like, well, you're just going to keep disappointing yourself because he is going to run through this conference like none other. So Warriors, I don't. It's not like I'm rooting for them. I don't really care that much. It's just, but if they win the championship again, I'm not like salty about it. I think it's cool. I actually have a couple friends out here that are Warriors fans because they're from like the Bay Area and they're authentic Warriors fans, like grew up Warriors fans. So it's cool. It's cool. I'm, out in LA, you can meet a bunch of different people, but it's cool to meet California-born people who are from different areas. So I can definitely pull for the Warriors a little bit. Always like that explosive young team, and they're growing into their prime. They're a dynasty, so it's sweet to see. Next matchup is probably the most intriguing matchup that I think probably in the whole first round, to be completely honest with you. The 4-5 seed, it's the Rockets versus the Jazz. The Rockets want their chance at the Warriors, and the Jazz want their rematch from last year's playoffs against the Rockets. So the Rockets are looking forward to, hey, we're going to play the Warriors in the next round the team we took to 7 games. The Jazz are like, wait, you got to play us first. So it's going to be really interesting. I have the Rockets in, I'm going to say the Rockets in 6 or 7. I want to lean towards 6, but it could go 7. I really could see it going 7. The Jazz are really good. They play good team defense. They do everything right. Then they have their elite scorer in Donovan Mitchell, the guy who can go for 40 any night in a series. That's, a guy that you can call an elite scorer because there's, a couple games he goes off and, you let those ones slip. And the next thing you know, you're not playing, up to par in that series because you're letting a guy just dominate. So he has the chance to get hot and do that. So I think they have a great team, and the Rockets obviously have the ultimate elite scorer in James Harden, and that's ultimately why I believe they're going to win. Harden is going to outdo Donovan Mitchell again. Mitchell's a couple years away from being on that level, but James Harden is just a monster. And it's crazy because the Jazz were, fighting for that seeding. They kind of started the year slow. Everyone kind of forgot about them. Mitchell didn't carry as much hype. No one was really as impressed with what he was doing. And now they're the 5 seed. So might have drew a tough matchup, but I think they have the chance to really make that series interesting. The Trailblazers Thunder is another really interesting one. Those are probably the 2 best series in the whole playoffs in the first round. The Trailblazers, I believe, are going to lose this series. This is the big, upset I have in the first round. Thunder are not a 6 seed. They are a great team. The West is just super competitive. And in a series, the Thunder have go-to scorers that can get it done in Paul George and Russell Westbrook. They have some presence. They have leadership. They have experience. And the Blazers are built similarly, but they lost their big man in Nurkic, and they are a team that, they got Enes Kanter, who can play well, and he's playing his former team, but they're a team that relies too heavily on Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, and it's just, I just feel like they don't have enough to get it done. And it's funny because the Thunder rely heavily on Paul George and Russell Westbrook. So I guess what I'm really saying is I take Russell Westbrook and Paul George over Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I think it's the 2nd year in a row that the Blazers, the 3 seed, lose to a 6 seed. Maybe they'll have a Virginia-like comeback though, and be the team that got really embarrassed by that 6 seed Pelicans team last year and comes back and bang, they're right back. So we'll see. But I got the Thunder. I'll say in one of those 2 series has to go to 7 games. You'd hope. It would be great to see a game 7 in one of those 2 series, but 6 or 7 games as well. It's, I think, another tight series there. Nuggets Spurs, that has a lot of potential to look like, oh man, the Spurs, they're the veteran team. It's like, honestly, it's like the initiation of all young up and coming West teams. It's like at some point you're going to have to like see that Spurs team, no matter who they have on the team, no matter what year it is, no matter anything. It's like that's the team you have to beat to prove like, hey, we belong. We're in that next generation. We're in there with the Rockets, the Warriors, the Thunder, and all the other playoff teams. You can just name them all. So the Nuggets, they emerged this year as the 2 seed. Amazing team basketball with all that talent. And they're going to have to beat the veteran Spurs. It's a team that's tough to beat. Well coached. Greg Popovich, probably the best coach in the history of the game. Maybe arguably with a couple other guys, just preference. Who do you think? But I love Greg Popovich, and I love how he coaches, gets his team in the playoffs, and it's a tough out. I'll say Nuggets I do think they live up to the challenge, by the way. I'm going to say Nuggets I'm going to say 6 or 7. I mean, I don't know, maybe 5. If they do it in 5, then they're coming like, yo, we legit belong. This isn't, a joke. And the Nuggets own the Thunder. The Nuggets absolutely own the Thunder. And they feel like, okay, that's going to be a dogfight of a series. Nurkic is out on Portland, so it's like we'll take them on too. Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, 2 good defensive backcourt guys to have, and then Jokic, and it's just a mismatch every time. So the Nuggets feel like this is their way to get to the Warriors in a series for the Western Conference Finals. They're going to be the team that has to play them, and I think that they have the path to do it because of the setup. And they got to beat the Spurs first. They got to see this as an opportunity. I think they do it. I think they do it in 6, maybe 7. But if they do it in 5, I'll be very impressed. I'll say, hey, the Nuggets made a statement with that. Just showing, hey, look, we're younger, we're better. We should do this in 5, and we're going to do it in 5. So I'll say that about that, and we'll move to the Eastern Conference. Bucks Pistons. I got the Bucks in 4 or 5. I think they're a dominant team. Giannis is just crazy. He has insane athleticism. He's great at everything, and they're a well-coached team. They're just a good team in general, and they have the MVP of the league on their team. He's not taking prisoners for this first-round series. Blake Griffin's also day-to-day. Pistons are a tough team. They scrap, but the Bucks are going to be a little too much for them. I got the Bucks in 4 or 5. Celtics Pacers. That's an interesting series. 2 teams that are built similarly. Marcus Smart, losing him for the first series or 2 is going to hurt. I still have the Celtics in 5 or 6. I think that they're just going to be, the Pacers can play, really. Don't get me wrong. The Pacers are a really tough team. I think the Celtics are out to make a little statement. They kind of were one of those forgotten teams as well. And I think that both those teams are kind of forgotten. So they're both grinding for something. But I got the Celtics just by a smidgen, I think. I did say 5 or 6. I'm going to change that to 6 or 7. That could be a 7-game series right there. And, won by the skin of the Celtics' teeth. But they'll get it done one way or another. The Pacers will not die. They won't give up. They won't let up. They'll keep fighting. And that's what you like about the Indiana Pacers, even though they lost Oladipo. If they had Oladipo, I might be tempted to take the Pacers to beat the Celtics in the first round and just be like, hey, listen, get out of here. But if they had Oladipo, they might be a higher seed as well. So it might be a little easier to see what they are. But they're still scrappy. They're still gritty, and they're not going to give up. And that's what you like about the Pacers. Sixers Nets, hometown 76ers against the Brooklyn Nets with one of my new found favorite players, D'Angelo Russell. Love him. Guy plays with heart. He's clutch. He comes out. He makes plays, has swag. Those other things. Got his jersey. I just rock with that dude. So it's going to be tough, but the Sixers hometown team. It's going to be tough for D'Angelo to get it done. I got Sixers in 5. I think even though the Nets have presented them issues in the regular season, I just think this team, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler added for a series. I think they're going to come out hot at home. I think they win the first 2 off the bat. They might slip up. They might not in Brooklyn, and I just think they win it in 5. I think it's going to be a pretty tough series game-wise in games, but I think they're going to get it done and show they've taken that next step to look. We're the better team here. Again, this is just a better team. We're just further along than the Nets. This is like the Nets' little victory in itself, the fact that they're the 6th seed in the playoffs. They've come a long way, but the Sixers are just far advanced, and I think Embiid's going to have a big series against Jared Allen. I mean, Jared Allen's good for a young center, but Embiid's just going to cook him. Simmons is going to look great. And I think Tobias is going to look great, and Jimmy's going to look. I think that 4 is out to prove something, and I think they're going to just show, hey, look, this is the playoffs now. We're getting serious now. These are veterans. They've played in the playoffs before. They understand that. They're going to go out and kick tail, and I think they win in 5 games. Raptors, Magic. I think the Raptors could sweep the Magic, honestly. The Raptors are really good. Steve Clifford did a great job with the Magic, but the Raptors are just really good. The Bucks are getting a lot of the hype. Kawhi's a silent assassin. Siakam is amazing. And this is a great team. They just strangle you slowly. It's like they're just really good, and they just keep coming at you, and they're just relentless. They're defensive-minded team, good coach, new coach, but he seems to have a corral on this thing. Kawhi Leonard is a bona fide stud, period. End of story. Doesn't talk much, isn't flashy. Had to miss some games this year just for precautionary, coming off that bad quad injury last year. He is an MVP just as much as anyone else in my eyes. If you want to talk about MVPs, Embiid, Giannis, Steph, KD, Jokic, you talk about Kawhi Leonard too. I mean, you better talk about Kawhi Leonard too, because there's no reason not to. I mean, it's like they ship DeMar out, they bring Kawhi in, there's no drop-off. He just comes right into a new team, averages 20-plus a game, just like he's a robot, this guy. He's literally a basketball player built into a robot, and I love his game. I think he's a cool player to watch. He just does everything the right way and hustles, gives effort, and he's just such a good defender, and I think the Raptors clean the Magic up 4 or 5 games for that one too. So the East is a little more lopsided. I think the West has some more parity, and especially in that first round, in the middle of that first round, you're going to see some cool matchups. I like the East bracket though, and I'm more interested to see the second round, but I'm not going to predict all the way through the bracket. I'm going to go week by week as teams advance and things like that. We'll get it going, and we'll continue to predict. But it's really all I have for you guys. No NFL this week. There's nothing to talk about. The draft is literally 2 weeks away, and the schedule comes out next week. So we'll touch NFL next week. With the schedule coming out with more news, everybody's got to sit on their draft predictions, sit on their schedule hype and anxiety, waiting for it to come out. Sit on that for a week. Let it unleash next week. This weekend, you can watch the Phillies take on the Marlins. You can watch NBA playoffs, all the matchups I just went over. They'll have a game each. Saturday and Sunday filled with basketball, filled with fun, sports, everything good. Happy weekend. Get your sports on. We'll see you next week, guys.